My name is Ishabi Vednabek. Today I'm going to talk about my internship experience yes, I'm going to talk a bit about me, about my experience with internships, how to get in, and also we'll talk about some stereotypes and perspectives after doing internships and doing internships specifically at Google. So a bit about me. I'm Nazarbayev University alumni, class of 2020. And over the 4 years of my bachelor's degrees, I had a chance to win several scholarships. I was twice a Google intern. As Anwar has said, I was a STEP intern after my second year of studies and also a software engineering intern after my third year of studies. And also I got some alternative internship offers. And besides this kind of professional activities, I also was involved in some student activities. I've been I was Russian League coordinator in Debate Club Nomad, and also I was vice chair at a new ACM Women's Student Chapter. The interesting fact about me is that I didn't have any background in competitive programming, so I didn't do any programming at school, and I basically started coding, programming, and studying software engineering when I was a freshman at Nazarbayev University. So let's talk about my internship experiences. Both of my internships were at Google, and I can talk about two different internship programs at Google, STEP internship and software engineering internship. These are quite different programs. While STEP program is dedicated for first and second year undergraduate students, software engineering internship is actually applicable for bachelor students, master students, and even PhD students. So maybe for PhD, it's more like research oriented, but still you're doing like internship at Google. And also you can apply for software engineering internship when you're between your degrees after finishing your bachelor's and before starting your master's. So it's a really great opportunity for like the whole journey of your studies. And the important point to note about STEP internship is, even if I say that it's for first and second year undergraduate student, you should remember that it's assumed that you're enrolled in 4-year program. So if your program lasts for 3 years only, you will be able to apply for STEP only in your first year, because it's assumed that after you complete your STEP internship, you're able to return as a software engineer intern back to Google. That's why it's only for first and second year students if your program lasts 4 years, and for first year students if your program lasts 3 years. The problem with STEP internship is that it has fixed start and end dates. It may be problematic for some programs who are not, like for some university programs that are not flexible with start dates. In my case, I was late for my studies for 8 weeks. Hopefully, fortunately, it's not a problem at Nazarbayev University, but still, please check with your educational institution. With software engineering internship, the start and end dates are flexible. With STEP, you also work in pairs on a project, and the level of dependency on your project partner are different. Sometimes you work completely independently, sometimes you're quite dependent on each other, so it really differs from project to project. While for software engineering internship, you always work alone. STEP is applicable only for EMEA region, though there is an analogous program in North America. I don't remember its name, but it's like STEP for first and second year students. And if we're talking about software engineering internships, you can apply in EMEA, in North America, in APAC region. So it's really recommended for you to apply in EMEA region because Google doesn't create this program just for fun in different regions. And it's assumed that if you're coming from EMEA, it's much easier for you to get an internship in the EMEA region. So please apply in EMEA because we're in EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Asia. So during my first internship, I worked as an intern in YouTube video abuse intelligence team. The primary goal of this team is to detect and remove abusive content from YouTube, and the content may be abusive from different perspectives. If, for example, it contains child abuse or maybe violence, extremism, guns, etc. And technologies used, so it's machine learning related project. We used Python, TensorFlow, and TensorBoard, and the goal of our project was to build an internal framework for engineers in our team to be able to configure better the neural network models for processing the data for abuse detection and removal. It was quite a fun project. My second project was more like software engineering oriented. I was working in Google Play Consult team. So it was a full stack web development project. And I worked on Angular Dart for the front end, and the backend was completely in Java. It's like a Spring-like internal Google framework. And we also use this trendy microservices architecture. And again, a lot of internal Google infrastructure tools. A lot of parts of your internships at Google is about learning how to use, exploit, and take advantage of the internal infrastructure tools. And yeah, Google has a really great and massive internal infrastructure. It may be a blessing, but sometimes it may be also problematic to just ramp up with everything. And when you're becoming, for example, a full-time engineer at Google, sometimes it takes you like half a year to get familiar with all of the internal infrastructure that exists at the company. So be prepared for it if you're applying for internships at Google. Yeah, so the most, I think, expected question to hear, the most popular question is how to get in. And on this slide, I wanted to summarize the project with, to summarize the process with these pics. So it's about getting some experience, and by getting some experience, I mean maybe trying some internships locally, doing some pet projects, maybe projects that are part of your university curriculum, then illustrate, hopefully getting invited to an interview, and then if everything works out, getting this internship offer. So really, there are lots of resources and information online on how to nail your CV, how to nail your technical interview preparation process. And I think all of these resources and information will be much more useful for you than what I am able to put in this presentation, or what I am able to put in any presentation. So an important disclaimer that I want to make here is that the information I'm going to share right now is not exclusive, it's not like necessary and sufficient for you to nail your CV, to nail your technical interviews and get that offer. Please like look at this information more like on my own experience, on my own journey, and maybe it may be applicable for some of you, for maybe those of you who also don't have that much experience in competitive programming. So yeah, and for like the whole range of knowledge on how to prepare your CV, how to prepare for technical interviews, please check all of the links that I'm going to share. And if you check out these resources, there are even more resources. So just start your own journey and find what's suitable for you. Talking about CVs, it's really important to prepare a good, neat, clean, and consistent CV because the CV is your opportunity to make a first good impression. And this is a key to get invited to secure an interview. Please remember that on the average CVs are reviewed for less than 30 seconds, sometimes for 10 seconds only. And this means that all of the information that you put in your CV must be clear, neat, consistent, so that like an HR committee member or any reviewer who looks at your CV can say for sure that, yes, you are a good match for this position. So don't overload your CV with the unnecessary information, with too much noise, with like confusing messages. Just make it as clean and consistent as you can. Your CV must demonstrate your potential for future success at the company that you're applying for an internship at. And by illustrating your previous experience with your previous work and education experience, you can show that, yes, you can be successful at the different companies doing internships. So make your CV. So like this kind of check that you can make, look at your CV for 10 seconds and ask yourself, would you invite yourself for an internship at the big technical corporation? I think this is a really good mental gymnastics to check if your CV would really attract the attention of the reviewers. The most important two things when you're like working on a CV is thinking about the content that you are going to put in your CV and the format in which you're going to put your content. Format is really important. There, I've listed there like an excessive list of the criteria that are deemed conventional in the industry about the format of your CVs. This list is not exclusive. There are like more different criteria on how to make your format clean and consistent for the reviewers. But the most important is that you should make your CV one page only. There is like maybe only exceptional cases when you have 15 years of diverse experience, when your CV should be more than one page. But I'm sure that for all of the applicants who are applying for the internship, all of the information can be put in one page. So please stick to this rule. It's really important. Then your font should be easy to read. Don't try anything exotic. Don't waste the time of your recruiters on trying to decrypt all of the different fonts that you wanted to use in your CV in order to like seem stylish or whatever. Please use like conventional fonts like Arial, maybe Times New Roman, etc. Then you should put your CV in the information in your CV in reverse chronological order. Why? Because you're applying for this position right now, and the recruiters need to see that right now you're a good fit for this position, that recently you have had some really cool experience with working with some technologies, that recently you have completed another internship, and that you may be a good fit. So please put the information in chronological order. Also, as I've said, the CV should be clear and neat and consistent. That's why you shouldn't use any complex grammatical structures. Make your sentences as simple as possible, as clear as possible. Also, using bullet points should help your CV reviewers to catch the important information quickly and effectively. The next one is please ensure the proper spelling and grammar. Maybe it may for some role, I'm applying for software engineering internships, so it's not so critical for me to have clear spelling and grammar, but this is not so. Why? Because if there are like spelling and grammar mistakes in your CV, it shows to your recruiter that you didn't spend enough time in your CV, which is already a red flag for your CV reviewer. So please spend some time on run your CV through Grammarly, make sure that your spelling and grammar is okay. It's also really great if you have someone to review a CV. They will catch some grammar or spelling mistakes that you missed. They will also help you, and they will also help you to understand if your CV is clear and consistent enough. And also, it's better not to put your photo in the CV. Why? Because the discrimination based on gender, race, and appearance of the people is illegal. I think in majority of the countries, so don't put your photo there in avoid this kind of discrimination, in order to avoid maybe subconscious discrimination from the side of your reviewers. So this is regarding of your CV. If we're talking about the content, everyone chooses for themselves what content to put there, but there's like also this golden set of sections that should be present in your CV if you want to get noticed for the different internship position. And here you can see this list. There should be your full name and contact information, all of the education that you've done, all of the work experience, project, relevant technical skills, honors, and awards. And I will say that in this list, the most important sections are education and work experience and projects, because as you're applying for internship, it's important to show that you're still a student. And it's also important to show that you can work in the industry, you can work at companies by showing that you have some relevant work experience, that you've worked to build some projects. And if we're talking about more research-oriented projects, it's about your research experience, right? So these are, in my opinion, three most important sections. And you can also list all of the technical skills that you have, but please include only relevant technical skills. So don't put like Microsoft Office there, because it's assumed that everyone can use Microsoft Office, and you're applying for software engineering internship. So the technology should be relevant to software engineering roles. So this may be different frameworks, or maybe tools, programming languages. So don't put like, I don't know, Bicycling or Microsoft Office in your CV, and also list some honors and awards. I think it's also a good indicator that you are competitive, that you always give yourself some challenges, etc. So this will really make your CV stand out. I also have some tips here, but I'm not sure I will cover all of them, but I will share these slides with you so that you can use them later. So I'll just talk about most important of them. When listing your education, please include GPA scale. It's not enough just to say that my GPA is 3.9. Maybe it's 3.9 out of 10, maybe it's out of 4, and it's really different pictures, right? 3.9 on 4.0 GPA scale is great. Out of 10, it's not so great. So please include GPA scale, include all post-secondary institutions attended. Maybe you've done maybe you've switched between different universities, maybe you've done several degrees. Please list all of this. And regarding the skills section, never put information on the technologies that you cannot talk about later. So for example, don't put C++ in your CV just because like 3 years ago you wrote some small program in C++, because like your CV is like a guide for your interviewers, a guide for them to ask you different questions. And if you can't talk about C++ in details, if you can't do your interview in C++, please don't put it in your CV. You will make it just worse for you. List only those technologies that you are comfortable talking about. Then regarding your experience, please make sure that you talk about what you did specifically. Don't say that my project was about like about an application that gathered data on COVID-19 cases. It doesn't say anything about what you did in this project. Please include information on what work you did in this project. Maybe you built the backend part of the application. Maybe you wrote some cool feature that allowed your application to scale well or to like invite more users to use this application. So talk only about what you did and make this experience quantifiable. Don't say just, don't say simply, I built build the web application that was used by like hundreds of users daily. This will really show your reviewers that you did some real cool work, and this will prove them that you actually did the cool work. It's not just you talking that you did something great, but there are actually numbers that will speak for you. Yeah, these are general tips, and I think it's better for you to look at them later because I don't think I have enough time to cover all of this. Yeah, that's all I can say right now about CVs. And also I've left some links here for where you can maybe find some people to review CVs on different rated subthreads. CS Career Question is a great rated subthread for you to learn about different opportunities in tech, get your CVs reviewed, learn about different internship opportunities. Career Cup is also a great asset. Different Telegram channels and groups like CNS Internships, ACM Student Chapter Telegram channels are also a great resource for you to get some ideas and know some people who can help you with reviewing your CVs. And also you can check out some LaTeX templates on Overleaf. So this is all I can say about CVs right for now. Let's talk a bit about technical interviews, and really all I can say about technical interviews preparation. Please check out this website, Interview School. I think lots of you should know about this project. It's the project built by Nazarbayev, who's an experienced software engineer, and he's also really experienced in application processes for different software engineering roles. And this website really contains lots of super useful information for how to nail your technical interview preparation process. It also contains good articles on CVs, so please check it out. I think I'm not able to describe it any better than it's been described on this website. I just want to give some highlights of my own preparation process for interviews. It was mostly because I didn't have any background in competitive programming. I needed to familiarize myself with how this whole world of competitive programming works, how I can solve different algorithmic problems with code. That's why the book Cracking the Code in Interview was really useful for me. It helped me to understand how the interview processes work in general, and also familiarize myself with the theory I may be asked about and different problem sets and solutions, how I should approach different problems. It's been really a life changer for me. I think I owe to the Cracking the Code in Interview my first internship offer because I didn't do lead code before my step internship. I did only Cracking the Code in Interview, and it was enough for me to nail my technical interviews. And then when I was a junior student, I prepared using LeetCode and HackerRank. So they have lots of different problems for you to get really well prepared for interviews. And I think LeetCode is the best option, better than HackerRank and CodeForces, because CodeForces and HackerRank, they are more oriented to this kind of competitive programming style, while LeetCode is more like oriented to for you to prepare for interviews. They have the different like difficulties, medium, hard, and easy, so that you can start lightly and not stress when you, and like don't put yourself into much stress by starting to solve hard problems like on HackerRank and CodeForces. So it's really much well tailored to the interview preparation process. So use LeetCode, it's a really great tool. There are also resources like LeetFree, Glassdoor, and Career Cup, where you can find the problems that were asked by different companies in the current intern application season. And it's also really great for you to understand, for example, the Google usually asks the questions on these topics, Facebook asks the questions on these topics. And if you want like an internship at Facebook, maybe you should concentrate on this particular topics or on this particular type of questions. So check them out as well. And I think the key is also to do mock interviews. Please do mock interviews, because it doesn't matter how good you are at solving problems, how good you are at applying different algorithms, if you cannot express your thought process, if you cannot communicate about the solution that you're approaching. I think platforms like Prompt may be really useful for doing mock interviews. So the website called InterviewBeat, they also offer mock interviews as far as I remember. And also one of the perks for a new ACM student chapter is that you can do mock interviews with other members of the chapter. So check this out. Maybe, I don't know when the next application process period for a new ACM student chapter, but maybe you should talk to them about the people who can do mock interviews for you. Do them, it's really great opportunity for you to prepare yourself for the interview process. Yeah, or you may just get a return offer. Because for my like second internship at Google, I didn't have to do any interviews. I was offered the position of software engineering intern because I performed well. I did well on my STEP internship. So for those of you who still can apply for STEP internships, please remember that after STEP internship, you may not have to do any interviews, and just based on your intern feedback, you may be invited for another interview. So this is also great. I want to talk about some stereotypes and some fallacies about internships at Google and internships in general. First is that people without competitive programming background cannot get in. This is absolutely false, because I know lots of people in programming who still got internship offers, got full-time offers. So don't say no to yourself just because you didn't do any competitive programming in your school or before your university. And yes, lack of competitive programming can be compensated by websites like LeetCode, InterviewBeat, HackerRank, etc. The next is that people from non-top universities cannot get in. This is also false, because companies like Google, they have resources and they're dedicated to building a diverse and open community. So everyone is welcome to apply, and you will be judged only because you're coming from some Central Asian university. This is not the criteria that the recruiters at Google check. The next one is that you cannot get in without referrals. This is also false, because there are lots of other opportunities of how we can be noticed by the recruiters. Consider alternatives like participating in different events organized by Google or Facebook or other tech giants. For example, Google Inside Look, Code Jams, Hashcode. Reach out to recruiters directly on LinkedIn. Get yourself noticed. It's not necessary to just have someone who will refer you. For my first internship, I think I got noticed because I was applying previously for Google Inside Loop program, and my CV just was in their database when the internship application season began. So they just reached out to me because I was already in their base and my CV looked good for them. So do use these opportunities by Google, not only internship opportunities, but this kind of programs, because this will increase your chances of getting noticed. And I think like other tech, Google, like Facebook or maybe Amazon, etc., also have this kind of programs where you can increase the chances of being noticed by the recruiters. Then this is my favorite one, is that Google unjustly favors females. So this is true that Google has programs dedicated specifically to females, like female-only opportunities, maybe a Google Women Tech Makers program. Yes, this is all true, but these programs exist not in order to unjustly favor females. These programs exist in order to mitigate historical injustices in tech industries and beyond. So don't think that only because you're a female, you have higher chances of getting it. Still, when we're talking about internship opportunities or full-time opportunities, you're selected on merit, based on the meritocracy principles. It's not because you're a female or because you're coming from some underrepresented group. It's because you really show that you have skills and knowledge necessary in order to perform the particular internship or qualify for full-time role. Yes. And about the perspectives after internship, it's easier to get full-time position. For example, if you've done several internships at Google, you may not have to do full-time interviews. You may be invited for a full-time role only based on your internship feedbacks. And it's really great because otherwise you have to do like 5 interviews to get a full-time job offer. So consider the internship, it's really great. Then it's easier to get into other companies. After my STEP internship, I got much more invitations to the other companies because Google was already on my CV. It's also about new connections. I've met lots of cool, interesting, inspiring people during these internships. And it's also about developing your soft and hard skills. Some final bits. Reject is not an end of the universe. Please remember that when you get a rejection, it's not rejection of you, it's rejection of the knowledge and skills that you have at this point of life. And it doesn't mean that in 6-month period or in 3-month period, you will not be able to nail your skills or to increase your knowledge, to improve yourself in order to get the offer. So yeah, reject is not the end of the universe. It's not rejection of you as a person or of you as a professional. It's rejection at this point of time. And it doesn't mean that after 6 months, you will not be able to get this position. The next one is that you should concentrate on maximizing your success and not success rate. What does it mean? It's that it doesn't matter if you get 100 rejections, if you in the end still get this one opportunity, this one invitation. So please concentrate on getting this one offer and not on like how many rejections you have already had. I know lots of people who like got 30 rejections or more, but they still got this one invitation that totally changed their life. So don't concentrate on rejections. And don't say no to yourself. This was my habit when I was just applying for the internships. I was like, no, I'm not good for this position. I will not even try applying. But leave this say no to the recruiters and don't make your life harder by saying no to yourself in advance. So please just concentrate on your knowledge, on your skills, on improving them and preparing better for technical interviews, and don't overload your mind with these triggers and anxiety. So that's all I have for today. I think I spoke more than I should, but still maybe there's some time for Q&A.
Yeah, there were some questions, but most of them you already answered through your presentation. Okay. And there is one more question about Google STEP you were applying. I will copy this question to the chat.
Okay.
Can you please shortly describe the timeline of selection process to the Google STEP? Googling didn't help.
The timeline, I think like the application period started in the beginning of October. So I was applying for STEP when it was in 2017, so it was 3 years ago. I'm not sure about the timeline right now, but it was that in the beginning of October, the application period started, and I applied immediately after the position was open, like not immediately, but several hours later. So it's also like an important point is that Google accepts applications on a rolling basis. So the sooner you send your application, the better, because maybe you are a really good candidate for this role, but they have already selected 100 applicants to interview. So you're just screwed because you applied too late. So apply as early as possible. And after applying, I think I waited for 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks until the recruiter reached out to me saying that they're interested in my candidacy, then we talk with the recruiter. So the first step is just HR, like phone call with an HR to check that you're really a student, that the information on your CV is still actual. And then after talking with your HR, in 2-3 weeks, you get like you have technical interviews. And after technical interviews, I think in 3 days, I got an email from a recruiter that I passed. And for Google, it's also very different that after technical interview processes, and you get the answer if you are qualified for this internship or not. And after this, there is also the host matching process when you're matched to the different projects. And after doing your technical interviews, you will also be, and after nailing your technical interviews, you will be put in the pool of the interns in order to be matched to the different internship projects. And the host matching period starts after you passed your technical interviews, and it continues till March or February of the next year. And during this period, you should be able to find an internship project. Sometimes you don't find the internship projects. I think it happens in 5% of cases. Most often you do find some internship project. And after this, you sign an offer, and it's guaranteed that you're going to start a Google Step internship if the pandemics don't happen. So yeah, this is the approximate timeline.
Okay, so in the chat there was also an interesting question about, do you know about Fullbar with Google?
I don't know.
Fullbar,
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
And there's one more interesting question. You got an internship offer from Confluent.
Yeah.
It's a company based in the USA. So does it mean that it's possible for people from our region to get offers from USA positions?
Yeah.
In the USA.
Yeah, it's an interesting case because I applied there for fun. My friend was working there as an intern last summer, and he just said, maybe you should apply. And I just applied for fun because I was in my senior year already, but in the USA, J1 visas, they can be issued even after your bachelor's degree for 1 year after you complete your bachelor's. So I was still able to apply for this position. Is it possible for people from our region to get offers for USA positions? Yes, it's possible. It's just much harder to get the positions in the USA when compared to the positions in EMEA region, because as lots of you should know, there are problems with getting visas in the United States. But some companies, they're still willing to face all of the problems and complexities of like applying for, like getting the visa for interns not from the US, and some of the companies, they are okay with all of the complexities. So Confluent is one of such companies, but I still didn't make it because of the COVID-19. So all of the process, for the sake of the argument, my visa application process has started in February, and I should have, and my internship should have started in June, as far as I remember. So technically speaking, yes, it's possible for us to get the internship in the USA and get a visa, but it's just much harder. So not all of the companies are willing to do this. Especially, I think the case with Confluent is that they have only one office in Europe, in London, and this is not such a big office, and their biggest office is in California, in Mountain View. So it's much easier for them to like get interns from all over the world and like move them to the US rather than opening new offices in Europe or Asia. Whilst for companies and giants like Google and Facebook, they have offices in Europe. They have lots of offices in Europe, and it's much easier for them to just redirect you there. And for Confluent, as they don't have so many offices in Europe, it was much easier for them just to move me there.
Okay, and the last question for today. If you didn't have programming experience before, so how do you think you caught the attention of the recruiters when you applied to STEP program?
So when I was applying for STEP, I was in my second year of studies, and I did have already some experience because I participated in an factorial incubator program after my first year of studies. I also just right after this and factorial summer, I also started working on Android application in some small startup. That's why I did have some work experience already, some kind of work experience. So that's why my CV, I think, looks quite good for the STEP position. This is the first point. And second point is that, as I have already mentioned, before applying for STEP internship, I also applied for another program from Google, Google Inside Look. Maybe some of you have heard about this program. It's the program, okay, just Google it. So because I applied, I was already in the database of the possible applicants. I think I also applied for HashCode and tried to participate in HashCode when I was a freshman. That's why I, again, was already in their database. And when I was applying for STEP internship, they have already, they saw that I have already had tried to apply to Google for different programs. So this was like this kind of, I don't know, match. And the recruiter that talked to me said that they actually saw my CV as an applicant for Google Inside Look, and then offered me to apply for STEP internship. And I said that I have already applied for STEP internship. And then they were like, oh, that's great. So let's move forward with the process.
Okay, and thank you, Aisha, for such helpful and inspirational presentation. I hope that it was helpful for everybody and they could meet their changes, they gain knowledge to the internship stage. Okay, and
thanks a lot.
Thank you too.
Bye, guys.
And now the next our speaker, Aidana Serikova. She is a Facebook full-time engineer, software engineer, and she is also a new alumni. So welcome, guys.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Could you repeat, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry. So hello, everyone. My name is Aidana. So thank you a lot for calling me to participate in this talk. So first of all, there is an interview talk. First of all, I want to start from the background. So so I graduated from the Nazarbayev University as an electrical and electronic engineering degree. And during my fourth year bachelor degree, I did an internship at ADS Singapore. It's a digital research lab. And after the internship, I published a paper with ADSC. And after my third year, I got the internship at the CERN. So I worked there with the professors from the Caltech, and we managed to publish the paper after the CERN. And in my fourth year, I decided that I will not go with the research path, but I will. I love the coding and also I want to work as a software engineer. So in my fourth year, I started preparation for my coding interview and got the full-time employee offer from the Facebook. So yeah. And what I want to talk in this session, actually, I tried to answer to the questions that that was sent to me from the participants. So let's start with going through these questions. So these questions was divided by the CV in problem solving. So first of all, about the CV, what I want to suggest, actually, this all the experiences that I'm just gonna highlight are from my personal experience. So then take it as this one is a clear formula how to get the internship, but they just keep in mind, so you can apply it wherever possible. And you can also search for the other experiences in the internet. So for the CV part, I actually suggest that you need to apply early. Especially for the internship, I think they post the position 1 year ahead. So you need to be ready and apply early. And also the process can take about 1 month. So you need to be ready to be seen by the recruiters and also to go through the interview process. So, and next one is I highlighted the CV must have. I highlight the most relevant information, what you need to include into your CV. So first of all, the relevant and professional technical skills. So whenever it can be, you can present it as a project or experience or what you have done in the past to show that you have such a professional and technical skills. So, and the second one is the best, most valuable experience at the top. So, when you highlight your experience in your projects, the top one must be your latest experience, because when the recruiter has a look at your CV, it will just as Shabibi said, it will take 10 or 30 seconds. So it will look only on the top your projects and your experiences in the top. So best, most valuable experiences you need to put at the top. And third one is include quantitative data wherever possible. For example, when you say in your experience that in your project or in your experience part of your CV, I did such a kind of the project, and that's all. But when you don't include what kind of the impact and what kind of the experience you gain from this project, it will be invaluable. So you need to add the quantitative data and your experience and your impact in this project. So for example, in my CV, for example, in the CV, when you said, for example, I increased it, for example, in my CV personally, what I remember, it's I did a machine learning, it's a turn based on the Q particles. So okay, what you did? So I increased the learning process of the machine learning algorithm to the 80% or kind of this quantitative data. So and also you must use the keywords called out in the job application. So for example, applying for the internship for the software engineering position and applying for the internship to the product management engineering, I think, they have a different requirements. So you need to put your experiences in your projects that's applicable for that particular position. And finally, you must use the consistent and clear formatting. So you don't need to put a bunch of the information to your CV, just like most relevant and most concise information that you can put. For example, personally, for my applications, I have used Gaily Lachman. She is the author of the Cracking Coding Interview. So she has the most valuable informations which were applicable for the internship. So you can go to her website, and then there you can find the CV tips that you need to include an example of Gaily's herself CV. So, and also networking. So I suggest you use networking as much as possible. So you can find the recruiters from the LinkedIn, Facebook, Gmail. There are a bunch of other social sites. So you can contact the recruiters directly and write them like, I want to apply for this position. I'm gonna apply for this position. Could you please consider me as a possible candidate? And also, don't be shy to write to the recruiters, and also don't be shy to ask referrals from the people. And next one, next one, I want to go through the interview process. How to prepare for the interview actually, because there are a bunch of the questions about how to find the optimal solution for the problem. I know it's a difficult part of the actually for the interview. But I wanna say that you need to start investing early. Right now, I think that the most of the students who are in this chat is their second or first year students. So I really highly suggest to participate in the ICPC, because it's a competitive programming. It may be challenging, but it's fun, and you learn a lot. Also, try to participate in the HackerRank competitions and hackathons. All of them will be like all of them you can indicate in your CV. So, and also all participating in these competitions are fun, and you'll learn a lot of the things. So start investing early. And next part is the preparation. So the interview actually is a war, and data structures and algorithms are your weapons. So you need to know how to use your data structures and algorithms to tackle the problem. So first of all, how I actually started preparing for the interview. As a principal, you need to know data structures and most basic algorithms for for the interview. I go through the Gayle Lackman. Also, yeah, I'm a big fan of the Gayle Lackman. She has in the HackerRank, she has explanation of every data structure and algorithm. It's a 10 minutes video, so you can just look at it and get the basic concepts of the algorithm. And that was enough for me to solve the problem further. So I watched the 10 minutes video from the Gayle Lackman and start solving the problem based on this topic, based on this algorithm. And next one is no need for the complex algorithms like Floyd-Warshall, like you use in the competitive programmings, because in the interviews you will be asked simplest algorithms and simplest data structures. But it's good to know these algorithms, because some problems, complex problems, can be solved in different ways. Which way could be Floyd-Warshall algorithm? So it's good to know actually. Next one is you need to practice. Yeah, as I said at the beginning, that many people ask how to find the optimal solution. I would say there is no exact formula to ICU interview, just the practice and gain the experience how to solve the problem, and that's all. So there are many resources in the internet, so I would highlight the LeetCode. It's highlighted by the priority, so I would highlight the LeetCode, the most useful resource for preparing your interview. Next one, HackerRank, and the CodeForce. Yeah, CodeForce, you can actually the problems in the CodeForce are a bit more difficult than in a LeetCode or HackerRank. It's mostly competitive programming, but if you're able to solve the CodeForce, I think that the BCD questions, then you are fine. Next one, yeah, it's a preparation, the time commitment. For the interview preparation, actually, it takes for different people, based on their background, depending on their background, it takes a different time to prepare for the interview. It can vary from 1 to 6 months for the total preparation. And also, there is a question actually how to approach the problems solved by the topics or solved randomly. I would say that if you have experience, I mean, you already participated in the competition programming and you know all the data structures. And for example, when you can try out 20 problems and you can solve over 90% of these problems, then you can prepare for the interview picking up the randomly problems and try to solve it at maximum 1 hour. But if you're a beginner and you're not able to solve the problem itself, then I would suggest to focus on the solving the problem itself, not looking at the time. You just learn how to solve the problem itself, how to use your data structures and algorithms, and that's all. And if you're a beginner, I would suggest to solve by topics. So and whenever you are already know where to apply this basic data structure or this particular algorithm to which problems, then you can challenge yourself You just like pick the randomly problem and don't look at the topic, don't look at anything, just like solve this problem yourself, challenge yourself. And I think the first point, if you're applying for a specific company, there are, especially in the lead code, you can filter by the company. So you can pick up, so for example, if you're applying for the Google questions, Facebook questions. And also the final advice, I would suggest to work with the real people. Yeah, there is a website like a prompt.com, interview cake, where you can just like pick the, where you are matched to the random person, you interview each other. And also friends preparing for the interviews, do a mock interviews. And I don't know if there is like right now in the university like programs that allow you to pick the partner to interview, but yeah, use all the resources that you have. Yeah, and the final advice I would suggest to believe in yourself and just don't give up. That's all from me.
Thank you, Aidana. It was also really a helpful presentation. I hope that also everyone gain more knowledge, more useful tips for them. At least I got. And there are some questions. How much? I will copy questions to the chat. How much time it took? How long it took for you to prepare for the interview, coding interview? I guess.
Yeah, for me, actually, it takes about 6 months. Now, I started in September, yeah, and my interview was around February. It takes me 6 months to prepare for my interview.
Okay, and here was one interesting question. Can you tell about the internship at CRER, what was the selection process, and did you have paper published when you were applying or after?
Oh, yeah. Actually, before that CERN, I did the ADAC internship. And after the ADAC internship, I had already a paper. So when applying for the CERN, I didn't apply to the CERN directly. I actually applied for the Caltech program. I think it's called the SERV. And there was a professor who actually worked at the CERN and at Caltech at the same time. So he suggested to go to the CERN and work with different, with the particular professor who is based on my interest and on my professional skills. So, and I go through, I took the internship from the CERN through the Caltech actually, and selection process. Actually, I applied to the SERV program. I actually put my CV and write to the professor directly through the emails. So I just wrote to the professor that I'm interested in your area, that you are working on this particular topic, so I want to work on this topic, kind of. And yeah, after that, professor will get back to you and look at your application. Actually, I would suggest this way because at the CERN especially, they have a bunch of applications and professors will pick up from these applications like candidates. So if you directly contact with the professor, professor will already know that you exist in this application page. So it will be like a high chance to get the internship.
You haven't finished. Sorry.
Oh, that's all.
Okay. And there is also a question about the preparation for coding interview, lead code, HackerRank, or code forces. What difficulty to solve? What difficulty questions to solve for the interviews?
For the interviews, I would suggest mostly lead code. So try to solve the medium and the high difficulty problems. But if you're a beginner, start from the easy, because easy it's not the easy as it can be seen, because there could be tricky easy questions. So if you're a beginner, start from the easy, but mostly focus on the medium and the hard questions.
And when there is a question, when did you start coding solving problems? I think he means at university, or you were coding before?
Actually, I got it's a general coding. I have experience from the first year, and about the competitive programming, I think that I started in my third year.
So you started engaging in competitive programming in this. Okay. Okay. From Konstantin, there is a question. Hi, I worked in deep learning research and now decided to switch to software engineering. Can I benefit from my research experience in CV? Can it be beneficial in interviews?
Actually, in the interviews, it would be beneficial if it will be behavioral part. So in the interviews, especially in the Facebook, you have coding interviews and additional behavioral. And there will be asked the questions, what kind of the projects you did, how did you manage to work with your teammates? And if you have experience already like in research and working with the people, you can apply there. You can tell about this experience in this behavioral interview. And about the CV, I would suggest, I would say that it will be much beneficial because my CV consisted of mostly the research experiences. Because, like as I said, like till the fourth degree, I did a research. So it was especially I think that the CERN actually plays a big role for considering me as a candidate as a full-time employee. So it will play a role.
Okay, thank you. And there are some similar questions. I will shrink it to one question. What are small tips for newbies who are going to apply for an internship for the first time? Is it possible to get an internship after the first year, especially during the current pandemic situation?
I would suggest, I would say yes, because there was a student from the Nazarbayev University who got the internship after his first year. I don't remember his name, but yeah, he did. And and before applying, I would suggest to prepare for the interview first. Be at least like there is for the first year there is different programs. So Google and Facebook programs for the first and second year students. So they don't require from you like you need to be proficient. They just like require you to know how to solve the basic problems. So I would suggest to prepare first and then apply. Yeah, it's possible.
Okay, and what about the current pandemic situation? Do you think it will be possible to get hired to the internship?
Actually, it should not be a problem during the pandemic situation because right now, company is doing the remote internship. So, for example, I had an intern from Germany, and he was in Germany, did his internship, and we talk via chat, and it wasn't a big problem. And right now, recruiting process is going as it was before the pandemic. So
okay.
There is no difference.
Interesting, thank you. And the last question, I have never done any project and I have no experience. Can you please tell where to start? And a person I think wants to get an internship this year and want to know the path where to start.
Right, start. Yeah, actually, like it depends on the person. It's like for different people, starting point is different. So I would suggest to find your interest in which area. Actually, if you're a computer science student, find the area in which area you're interested in, and also decide what you want. If you want to do the research, or if you want to like be a software engineer. If you're a software engineer, I would suggest to start from the like. First of all, I would suggest to participate in the ICPC, and next one, I would suggest to take a part in hackathons, in different competitions and hackathons. Start from them, and also I would suggest to look for the programs for the second and for the first year students. There are a bunch of the programs that are not only applicable to the big companies like Google and Facebook. There are other programs at universities, at Oxford, at Cambridge. There is a programs for the first and second year students. So apply for them also.
Okay, and a question for me: do you think it was hard to get hired to a full-time job at Facebook, like during preparations for coding interviews and other stuff?
You mean that it was difficult to take a full-time?
No, I mean, was it difficult to prepare for being hired? Like, you know, coding preparations, prepare your CV, like comparing to the hiring process for the internships.
Okay. I think that it was not that difficult. It's the same as the internship actually, but they actually require from you more experience and more like quicker problem-solving skills. It's the only difference. Yeah, it is the same as the internship, I would say. But you just like apply to different bottom. I mean, in the application process.
Okay, and I think that we are going to like finish on this. Thank you a lot, Aidana, for such incredible inspirational speech. We really appreciate it, and I think it was valuable for most of the participants in our talks today. And thank you again.
Thank you.
And now we are going to have a speech from Yuri Rebruk. He is currently applied scientist intern at Amazon Alexa. Also, he had internships at Lyft, NVIDIA, and was a software engineer. And we think that he is really experienced in being in the hiring process to the internship. So welcome, please.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, nice to meet you guys. Yeah, I will tell you a little bit about my experience of internships. Actually, it's not true. I'm not intern currently. I just have, outdated information on my LinkedIn page, but it doesn't matter actually. So I got my first internship at Google actually super late, like after fourth year in my bachelor degree, basically when I finished my bachelor degree. And usually people have internships earlier. For example, my friends and group mates, someone had an internship, like after the first year, after the second one, and fourth year, it's kind of, late. But I managed to get it, and And yeah, I will tell you a little bit about Google and then in general about internships. So what's really nice about Google and actually a lot of different internships that you have a host, your friend, actually the guy who will help you during the whole process, during the whole internships. If you have questions, you talk to them. They can give you some really helpful advice. Another really interesting thing in Google that usually when you join some Google team, you have a design doc. Basically, it's like Google document where you can see details of your project. You need to define steps you're going to make to finish, your project to solve the problem. And some other experienced folks will open it and will look through it and will try to help you to make it better, test your ideas and so on. So actually, when this document is ready and basically approved, you need just to implement what you write down. And also really good thing about Google that they have actually, I think, the best development tools for developers, because they have really nice, search system where you can just open any code from your browser and you will just, like really comfortable to read it and open like references and so on and so on. So I think from all places where I've been, like Google tools like the best. So they spend a lot of money and a lot of resources to make them better. It's just a fun thing that in Google, even in toilets, you will see like A4 papers with different tools. For example, did you know that you can use some machine learning tool out of the box, blah, 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 blah. So it's a lot of different tools that you need, to tell people about them even in the toilet. So basically, if you need something, probably it's already implemented. You need just to ask. It's really, low probability that there is no tool you need. And another cool thing is that Google is really large and a lot of people with different interests. And basically for your interest, research interest, or even sport event, you will find people who are interested in it too, and you will just have like seminars where you can discuss, I don't know, if you're doing research in machine learning, you will find some seminars where you discuss machine learning, and Google will basically ask different people from universities to come, different researchers, and tell everyone about their research. So it's really helpful. And I was working basically on pure software engineering project about Google Docs. I was working on feature which allows people to resize tables. Yeah, just software engineering project. And think what was interesting here that like I've done the half of the project. I had a design doc that was approved by a lot of people, but in the middle of the project, we realized that the way we wanted to build it, it was just impossible to do it. So basically, my design doc was actually bad, and a lot of people approved it, and they didn't realize then that it wouldn't work. So basically, it means that projects usually super heavy and large, and even if few people approve it, it doesn't matter. Basically, you don't have guarantees that this plan will work. And the problem with that I spend a lot of time, like writing really carefully, really beautiful code, and so on. But like in the middle of internship, it happened that what I've done was basically useless. And so here's an advice. Oh no, it's not advice. Yeah. So advice here is you should firstly work on prototype. So basically, it doesn't matter how good your code is. You just need to test that the whole idea from end to end works. And if it works, then you can start to write beautiful, code, and then you can test it, and then you can submit pull requests, and so on. So I think this thing will help me a lot. Yeah, Google, you have a lot of benefits, delicious food, scooters, and so on. Actually, there is a myth that when you join Google, you get 5 extra kilos during the first months. So it's not true. I got just 4. But still, yeah, a lot of food. So be careful. A lot of people think that number one priority when you have an internship is job. So basically your project. It's kind of true, but I will say that first priority is networking. You have a lot of people around you, really smart guys, and you wanted to learn from them. Basically, I found a lot of interesting people there, and they actually helped me a lot to get my next internships and my next jobs. I will tell you more about that later. So about applying, how to get an offer. Basically, I think that you know this part, right? But I will just go through it quickly. So everything started with application, actually, right? And you need to have a referral. I mean, it's not like necessary, but it really helps if someone inside the company will basically say that, oh, I know this guy, please hire him. So you can have a friend, or you can basically open LinkedIn and find someone who works in this company, and you can just message, hey, I really wanted to, to join your company as an intern. I really like what you do. So please just submit like a request, something like that. And, like a lot of people will do that because it's not hard. And if you convert to the full-timer, they will just get a cash bonus, so it's like win-win. And yeah, this part is really awesome, important. And then, of course, you have some contests, maybe hacker rank, maybe triple byte quiz. Then if you pass it, usually you have screening interview with HR, and they will ask you like what you want to do, what do you like to do, why you wanted to join this company specifically, and so on, like no coding at all. And then you have like a bunch of coding interviews, like half an hour, usually an hour. And in some cases you have on-site interview when you need to, fly to Europe or maybe US and have interview there with real people and so on. It's actually a really nice way to, to travel in other countries for free. And in some cases, like Google, for example, they have team matching. So basically when they match you with some specific team. About coding interviews, I would say that LeetCode probably the best one, as you heard already today. Facebook Code Lab, I don't remember. They was open, but maybe this project is closed already. But Code Forces, for example, I did a lot of Code Forces, but I think it's too heavy for interviews. You don't need that. You need more, simple algorithms, data structures, and so on. So don't do that. I think LeetCode works fine. Yeah, and of course you need to have more practice. I think Prompt and your friends probably it's a good way to start. And also there are a bunch of new services that help you to have mock interviews. If we're talking about behavior interviews, I think Cracking the Coding Interview is a really popular book. Plus, you can just search some questions you don't understand. But I just read the behavioral part in this book because they have a lot of different problem solving algorithms and so on. But because I was keen on algorithmic part, I haven't read the whole book. There is another thing. Usually, like interviewers will ask you questions like, why do you want to join this team, this company? What do you want to do? Do you have a question for the engineer who is interviewing you? And if you don't ask really interesting questions, people will understand that you don't actually wanted to join, right? Because if you want to just join Google because it's Google, it's not so cool, and people will actually realize that. But if you're curious, if you ask questions like some details, how you do this stuff, or what if you can replace this part with another part and so on, you will show that you're actually interested, and they will feel it. And so it's why usually I just write down some questions before the interview, like on this paper, or here it's a real photo. And then when I talk to the engineer, I use it as a hint because, like it's an interview, it's in English, you're also nervous. So you can just forget anything, some questions you had before. So it's better to write it down. What else? Yeah, really, I think the most important thing is the more applications you apply, right, more chances to get an offer. So basically, in my case, after this internship, I have I decided that I wanted to have more internships, and I basically applied for 45 places. So it was 45 different applications. And as you can see here, I get just 29 answers. It doesn't mean that answer oh, cool, join us. No, even answers like, you're a great candidate, but we will not move forward with you. So all other guys just didn't answer anything. So, and from these 29 applications, I got 10 interview processes. So basically company that said, okay, cool, let's move to the next step. And from these 10 interview processes, I basically got 7 offers in different companies. And from these 7 offers, I just chosen 3 of them for the next year. And basically, I was in media doing some research in spring 2019, and then I moved to Lyft Level 5. It's the department which works on self-driving cars. And after that, I just moved to Amazon Alexa, where I was working on research on natural language processing. And yeah, so basically I spent 10 months last year in the US. What else? Yeah, here is a bunch of useful links. The first 2 is communities with people who are often, have internships, and you can ask whatever you want there. The third link is my post on Hubber, where basically describe the whole interview process and how to prepare for that. And the final one is just my Telegram channel, where sometimes shares some links, my experience with internships, but I don't often post right now because I don't have internship right now, right? So because I'm not a student anymore, actually. I finished my master degree this summer. So yeah, I'm not a student. But the thing also I want to add, actually, so as I mentioned before, I got my first internship after the 4th year of education, so it's super late. But I think the main reason why it happened is because I didn't really want to have internship. What do I mean by that? I mean that I applied, just for Google and Facebook, and I, for example, failed, and that's it. So it's just 2 applications. I think if you really, really wanted to get an internship, you need to apply for 10 places, get a lot of interviews, and of course you will get more experience, and definitely you will basically succeed in one of these applications. So just try harder. So I think that's all for me, and I will glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Yuri, for useful presentation. I'll start with the private questions, like questions which all were asked from you, and I will copy those questions.
Sure.
To the chat.
Let me stop sharing.
What math courses, subjects would you recommend to study to prepare for machine learning, deep learning, internships, interviews? To be
in general, I think, like, of course, like linear algebra, calculus, it's important things because probability theory, and yeah. So during the interviewer can ask you that. But usually, what I do, really simple thing, is basically I open some books, large books, for example, like Deep Learning from Young Goodfellow, or any other, tech book about deep learning, and usually there you have some sections about calculus, linear algebra, probability theory of probability, and so on. So you can basically open this book and look through these sections, and you will basically recap everything. And if you don't know something from that, you need to go, to some course and learn it deeper.
Okay. And similar question, is the coding interview the same in terms of difficulty for machine learning, deep learning intern positions and software engineering intern positions?
Actually, they're different. They usually, when you have like software engineering interview, you don't have like math questions, or no one asks you about, some deep learning stuff or networks and so on, so on. You have just algorithmic problems. Usually when you apply for machine learning position, you will have some, like algorithmic lead code questions. And after that, like engineer or interviewer can ask you, like, some architecture, or how will you solve some specific problem in machine learning field. So it's kind of like different.
There is a question more generally, how to choose lead code problems. Are there some lists, or we can just solve by topics?
I don't know. I think the thing with me is different because I had like, really strong algorithmic background, and usually when I did lead code, it was just for purpose, just like, just recap everything. So basically I open lead code, open different questions, different difficulty, and I just solve like, like a few dozens of questions, and I'm actually done because I don't need to solve a lot because I know all the things. I just need to recap. So, but medium and hard, I think the best way to go. Sometimes, easy task to feel that you can do that,
And there is similar questions you already started. If you are not a competitive programmer, what would you recommend to start with?
I think you probably need to, first of all, you need to find some good course about, like online course about some data structures, algorithms. I think there are plenty of them, because the thing is that you can solve leak code problems without like fundamental, understanding of algorithms and data structures and so on. But it's not really cool. I think the best way is basically to learn it like from the course, and then go to lead code, and then you will basically apply your knowledge, theoretical knowledge, in practice.
Okay, and there is a question from Konstantin about questions to engineers. When you have an interview, do you know in which department this engineer works to prepare questions, or should ask just questions like how do we use the search index?
Yeah, usually what happens that when you get an email that you will have an interview with someone, usually companies mention the department where the like engineer works. So basically you can prepare some questions before, but even if it's not a case for you, yeah, in this case you will actually need to prepare a question. You cannot prepare questions, so basically you will need to ask whatever you have on your mind. But there are, like, I think plenty of questions which are super general, and doesn't really depend on the specific position of the engineer.
Okay, and another question. Did you find the research internship more interesting than typical software engineering internship?
It depends on basically on your interest. In my case, yeah, it was more interesting. I mean, I like build different stuff. For example, I really like Google Internship, but in Lyft, I was playing with self-driving cars, some kind of. So it was really cool. People around are building these cars, and you do some machine learning to make it better. So I really like that. Or for example, at NVIDIA, I was working on text-to-speech models. So I was like, newbie in this topic, and I was playing with the models which generate basically speech sound from the text. So it was super fascinating for me.
Okay, and for what intern position did you apply for in Yandex internship? Is it hard to get a Yandex internship as getting internships in other big top tech companies?
The thing is that actually I didn't have an internship at Yandex, but the thing is that Yandex has really hard interviews, I will say. They have like plenty of different stages and really hard questions, I think, like weak or hard and so. So I think Google interviews are easier than Yandex one.
Oh, okay, and another question: where to search more more internships programs in Europe, and is it not late to apply for an internship in the second semester, so in spring?
It really depends on the company. Some companies don't really care when you will have the internship. For example, if you go to US, the only thing you need that you are a student and you will manage to get a visa for this internship. Like for example, I had an internship like in the spring, in the fall, in the summer. So it's not a problem. The question is, will your university allow you to basically have an internship somewhere and basically study remotely, I think.
Okay, thank you.
And there is actually a website, and I will try to find it. Startup internships. No, it's not. There is this website, angel.co, and they have like a list of internships. I don't remember exactly the link, but
yes, it's angel.co. They have
yeah, it's really useful. It's really useful, I think, website. I've never used it a lot, but usually I just create my like table, and then I just search for some companies, and then I put these companies in my table, and then I track basically the status of my application. But I think right now it's a lot of different tables and tools to find these internships, so it should help.
Okay, and one more question: does competitive programming influence a lot, or it's better to spend time for making projects to add to CV?
I don't know. I think if your competitive programming skill is like good enough, there is actually two cases. If you wanted to win like ACM, CPC stuff, yeah, totally, it's fine. You can just work in competitive programming, and you will achieve like great results. But if you're not planning to be like the top one guy in this field, I think it's better just to have like basic skills, basic understanding, and then do more projects, more real stuff.
Okay, and what is, in your opinion, is it hard to get into internships nowadays during the pandemic situation?
It also depends on companies, because for example, I actually wanted to have my fifth internship in the beginning of this year, but it was like it wasn't like a mess, because a lot of companies didn't understand what to do, and they wanted to move this internship from on-site to online, but I didn't manage to get it. So it really depends on the companies. For example, some of my friends, they should have like an internship this year, but companies move it by a year, so they will have it next year. So it depends. But some companies, feel fine, and they have internships, and basically you can apply.
Okay, and what are extracurricular activities should be included to our CVs? Are there any recommended ones?
I don't know. I have just like, job, like work experience, university, hackathons,
Actually,
different competitive programming contests. I think that's it. Papers, if you have those, it's really cool.
okay. And what are your small tips for newbies who are just applying or are going to apply for internships?
I think just more applications, more interviews, more experience. More experience you have, the easier to pass next one.
Okay, and the last question, is it possible, in your opinion, to get to fund companies by applying to non-engineering positions to get internships?
Oh, you mean like to get an internship in non-technical position? I don't know. Actually, a lot of my friends just apply for engineering positions, so
okay.
I cannot help with that.
Okay, and I think there is one more question now.
Sure.
What was your experience with applications before your first successful offer? If you had rejections, what do you think was?
Yeah. I think a lot. I got a lot of rejections, as you can see from the funnel of applications. The thing is that yeah, it's actually hard to get the first one. After you have the first internship, I think it's easier to get the next one, because like people open your resume and they see that, oh, this guy was there, cool, yeah, maybe we should give him a chance, something like that. So it's why you need to apply for more companies, and it's better to find someone who will refer you inside the company, someone who works in the company.
And what you think was obstacles for first rejects?
I don't know, maybe not enough experience. The thing is that, as I mentioned, application, like the first stage, is kind of weird, because even with strong application, someone can open it, like someone from the company, and can reject you. So basically, it's still high chance that you will be rejected, even if you are a super cool engineer. They will just open it and just like, oh no, for some reason we will not move forward with him. So I think it's why better to apply for a lot of companies to increase this chance.
Okay, thank you, Yuri, for such an incredible, inspirational, motivational speech. We think that also more valuable knowledge for internships our participants got. Thank you for devoting your time today. We really appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks for having me. I also actually send a link for these slides in the chat. So if someone curious about links.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye. And now we are going to have a last speaker, but not least, Shahidin Zamedinov. He is now studying. He is now studying at UNIST, and he was intern at Amazon, intern at Yandex, and ACM ICPC and IY finalist. Welcome him. Shahidin, do you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, give me a second. Yep. So, hello everyone. My name is Shahidin Zamedinov. I was an intern at Amazon, at AWS to be precise, during October 2019 till February 2020. So I wanted to talk about how I got into Amazon, about the whole process, and like why you should still apply to the companies even though you don't think that you are a good fit or anything else. So there is a hiring process. at Amazon, at first you'll send the resume. Then if you are lucky, you will get the pre-interview challenges. They will have like programming challenge and something like similar to work. After that, you will have like 2 back-to-back interviews. One of them will be behavioral and second one will be more technical. And if you did everything good or not, sometimes you'll get an offer. So I wanted to talk about how I got an offer, even though I believe that I didn't do my best, even though like I failed at every step of this process. So I wanted to talk about my resume at first. My resume was like really bad. I was a second-year student, didn't had like any internship experience. During my second year, I had about 100 rejects, like at least 100. But I believe that like if you send resume to like a lot of companies, you'll have at least like a couple of interviews. So in fact, I found out my resume from that year and I wanted like to share it with you and show like what problems that I had. Anwar, could you like share, or even I can share. So I will also show it in my presentation, but if you wanted to check it out later. So there is like my first part of CV, it contained a lot of unnecessary things. Like I wrote down that I studied in Kazakh British University and dropped out of it and like made a bold claim about it. I don't know, I still don't know why I did this. Yeah, that is one bad part about my CV. Also, I wrote about the projects, but for example, for the second project, I didn't say anything about like what I did in this project. What is it about? I believe that it is a really bad one. Don't write projects like that. The next is programming languages. It has zero information about how good I know the language or what kind of experience did I had about it. So the second part of the resume, it's like one page but split it into 2. I have an awards in competitive programming, like for example ACM world finalist and IOI bronze medal, but if the person doesn't know what is ACM or IOI, it doesn't tell like anything about it. So I advise you to not write like this, to have like at least one line explaining what it is, like what does this award mean, or percentile, or anything. Yeah, the links part, I think I made it okay. It's not that good, it's not that bad. Also, I wrote the activities. I wrote about being volunteer at Expo, but it has like zero relationship about computer science, about internship. So I don't know why I wrote that. Also wrote about being jury assistant in National Olympiad, but it is like too broad thing to write, and it doesn't tell that much what I did there. Also, I wrote about chess, and it's just bad. So I also sent my resume to one of the groups to have a feedback. Here you can see it. It's in Russian. Yeah, basically those things that I described before. Also about there was a bad spacing between rows. Yeah. But I wasn't rejected. In fact, like even though I had like many flaws in my CV, it was waitlisted. Like meaning I didn't get any answer for 5 months. I believe that during this time, the Amazon company had an interviews with other candidates which were better by resume, but in case like they have something like if this person will fail, we'll have another guy from the wait list. And actually I got reply 5 months later. So I applied at the end of the August and got reply in the beginning of February. So yeah, don't lose your hope. Yeah. After that, I have been sent pre-interview challenges, something really similar to IQ test that you can like pass in the internet. Something really similar to sat reasoning reading part, if you know, like when you are given to read like a big text which is written in advanced language and you need to answer the questions. Also had a programming challenge, 2 problems. I don't know about the other 2 challenges, like about my result, but during the programming challenge, even though I had like experience in competitive programming, I solved only one of the 2 problems there. And yeah, I don't know why that happened, but this is how I did the challenges part. I was waitlisted again. I have been waiting for the reply about a month. I still believe there was some other candidates other than me that got interviews during that time, but I was just waiting. Forgot for a long time about the interview part, and then I got an interview about, it was leadership principles, like more behavioral interview, and one technical interview. And I failed both of them, like pretty much. During the behavioral interview, I did the worst that you can do during the interview is to like not to come to the interview itself. And during the second interview, there were 2 problems and I couldn't solve one like typical problem from cracking the coding interview. And I thought that I wouldn't get any offer. I'll just have a rejection after 1 hour after my interviews. But in fact, the problem was about the time shifts during that time. And like the company did understand that this might happen to anyone, and they rescheduled my interview. I have been preparing for a behavioral interview about a week, and as I get it, I didn't fail it and got an offer 2 weeks later. So what I wanted to tell about the application process of the internships was like being like not doing not your best is okay sometimes. A company or people might will understand that. So that's why I believe that you need to apply to every company you see and let them decide if it is worth to interview you, actually. And I also believe that getting an interview, it has some luck part in it. So the more you try, the more interviews you will get, most probably. So you might be just lucky by applying at this moment to this company, and that will be and you'll easily get an interview at least. The only thing about CV that I wanted to mention is to have at least one thing to be outstanding in your CV. It might be some interesting project that you really liked working on. It might be your competitive programming. It might be some other internships. So that you could at least be waitlisted as me. And yeah. So basically, don't lose your hope, even if you applied to 100 of companies and didn't get any feedback from them. They might be just interviewing the others, and you'll have, if you're lucky, you'll have an interview at least. Also, Anwar mentioned that lots of you wanted to know about technical interview preparation. I am not sure of the others, but I wanted to tell my experience. As I mentioned, I had competitive programming experience, so I didn't study the topics. I just did a lot of lead code. I had about 200 problems solved before my Amazon interview. And there are a couple of things you can solve the questions stupidly by just pressing random and just solving it. But to be more more similar to the real interview, you can try to not compile when you solve the problem. Try not to compile it and find all the bugs, because during the interview you'll not have a compilator that will tell you all the problems that you have. And it is really good thing to not compile the code, because you'll be actually at some moment you'll be able to write the code really clean without any compilation error, without any bug, and then you most probably ace the interview. Also, while solving, just try to speak up about the solution. Even though there is no one in your room, during the interview, the interviewer will want to know what exactly are you doing, and he must not be bored when you are writing your solution. So you will need to talk a lot during the interview. So try to explaining the code as you write. And even if you will be mumbling, it is also okay. But yep. Also, I have some, before the interview, I started making a cheat sheet. As Yuri mentioned, you also can write the questions for a person that will be interviewed with. And also I write another cheat sheet when you actually write the process of solving the problem. So you can go one by one. At first, understand the problem. If there is something that you don't understand, ask the interviewer about it. There might be some hidden constraints that he didn't mention, but there might be like no negative and integers in your input, but he didn't tell you about that. Yeah, make sure to understand the problem. You can also try to paraphrase. I heard that some people try to paraphrase the problem to understand that, to make sure that they understand the problem itself. After that, ask all possible questions. Then you will try to discuss the solution or talk about the findings. There might be, even if you don't have a complete solution right now, it might be beneficial to you to discuss the observation from the problem that you have. If it is a hard one, it might be solved if you mention a couple of observations about the problem. Then after you started the coding, just start coding. Talk during that. Debug by meaning you most probably, like during the coding, because of the stress or some other things, you might have some problems with your code, and it will be good if you find it before, like saying I have finished writing my solution. It will be good if you find the problems by yourself, and then ask to check the solution, and you will still have the bugs, but they'll be a little less than before. You will discuss the bugs and maybe you might discuss the alternative solutions that you had in mind. So I make a cheat sheet to follow this structure of the interview, and it actually helped me to lower the stress during the interview itself. I believe that you can find it helpful also. Yeah, during the interview, please talk a lot, because if you don't speak during the interviewer won't get any idea what you are thinking, what you are doing, or yeah, and he won't have that point of, he won't have the option to rate you normally like the other candidates if you don't speak. Also, interviewer is searching for a colleague. Don't be a jackass. Be a person who you would enjoy working with. Never forget asking an interviewer the question. People like talking about themselves. So once I had an interview with Facebook, and the guy, the interviewer that I had, at the beginning he mentioned that at first he had an internship, and then he conversed to the full-time. And at the end of the interview, I asked about his internship at first, and he told like he was really motivated to tell me about his internship, about his project, that he was like making a scroll bar for the Facebook videos, and that he even had a chance to present it to the Mark Zuckerberg. And like he talked about it really passionately, and that's why you should at least try asking about people, because they might have some interesting histories. It might motivate you to get exactly this company, to get into this company, and people like talking about themselves. That's why you should ask. And that's it. That's all my presentation. if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Shaykh. I think it was really inspirational through, even though you went through such a lot of failures and successful offers. And yeah, I remember about your last point about not forgetting asking interviewer the questions people like asking about themselves, because I think it was in every interviewer was talking about himself or herself in the beginning. So the question, let's start with the private questions. Did you like Amazon's work culture? The first question in general one.
Great question. Work culture. I mean, I believe that it was the work culture itself was pretty similar to the one of Yandex, with the except that you didn't had any lunches there. Like at Amazon, you don't get to have free food as in Google, as in Facebook and other companies. That was the only bad part about the Amazon. The work part, you can get an interesting projects during your Amazon internship. I had something, it was interesting for me because I learned a lot about Amazon, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. And here is in the question set your fan. He asks how finals in ACM, ICPC, and International Olympiad in Informatics helped, and overall in competitive programming helped you to get internships? Do you think that because of competitive programming skills you were hired, or there were other hidden sites?
I think like the competitive programming part will help you to get to the interview. They will be thinking, well, let's try to speak with him. Maybe he has something interesting to say. But during the interview itself, for me, it didn't help in any way. Because, like, for example, I mentioned like during the Amazon technical interview that I didn't solve one of the problems. And that problem I wrote during my competitive programming time at least about 10 times, but I still didn't manage to solve that problem at this exact moment. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And another question, is it enough to learn algorithms and solve problems on HackerRank, LeetCode, or it's better to try yourself more in specific areas such as web development, game development, and others? I will duplicate the question.
Yeah. I am not sure what kind of company the person is searching for. If he's talking about Facebook, Amazon, Google, I think that at first you should prepare for the interview, because like you need to be able to solve like at least one problem during the interview. It's not that hard. It can take like 3 months for that, and after that you can like easily start writing pet projects. That's something that you have in mind and wanted to write, like because during your university years you have like plenty of time, and during that time you can create pretty much anything. I believe that you should do that during your university times.
Okay, and there is another prior question. Was your strategy in solving competitive programming questions during finals and other Olympiads?
I mean, it depends because the ACM is a team Olympiad, and during the team Olympiad, you might have the person who is just better of solving the problems. Like, for example, during ACM, I was more like the third person that don't get much computer time because there is only one computer, but you just speak with the person, he tries to describe the solution, you just say okay or not okay. During the solo competitions, I don't know, just read all the problems so that you have so that you solve the problem on your background. Even though you think of only one problem, you might be solving the another one in your just in your mind, and that is only thing that helps during the competition.
Okay.
Anything else is pretty much useless for
Okay.
me.
Thank you. And one more question. What if my CV really sucks? What should I do firstly, pet projects or lead code?
I mean, you can do both. Lead code, I don't think that you need to be like acing the lead code, but you should have like solve at least like 30-50 problems, and then you try to write as many pet projects as you can. I would give you this kind of advice.
Okay, and what are other tips you suggest to newbies who just started their way in programming and didn't match with competitive programming?
That's a good question that I might not know the answer, because I had the experience of programming before the university, but I believe just participating to one of the boot camps. Even in Kazakhstan, there is two boot camps. One of them is Kaspi Lab. The second one is N-Factorial. While before it was free, so you can try participating in those. It will give you some fundamentals of what you can do, or what programming is, and it's not that hard to get into them. After that, just try to get your first internship, and then it will just continue. Well, like your experience will continue growing, and you can apply to the other companies.
Okay, thank you very much, Shahidin. I think your speech also was incredibly useful to participants, even though it took 2 hours in internship talks today. I think anyway, participants could grab some materials, grab some useful tips.
Yeah,
Yes,
thanks for your time.
Thank you for your time too, for devoting it today. And thank you guys. This was our last speaker. Thank you guys for devoting your time today and participating in Internship Talks. I hope that everything was helpful to you, and we will try to post all the presentations by the speakers agreement. Try post all the presentations to our Telegram channel, and I hope recording is not broken now, and the recording also will be posted to our Telegram channel. If you are not familiar with our Telegram channel, I can I sent it all to the chat, and you will meet other useful tips there. So thank you again for devoting your time. Bye, guys.